A few months ago, I started working on an old 100-year-old Waltham Colonial B size 12 pocket watch, and partway through disassembling it, I gave up on it because I discovered that it had a broken jewel in the train bridge. The center wheel jewel was broken, and without that, it wouldn't be possible to make the watch work correctly. And I had a real heck of a time finding any replacement parts for it. None of the people anywhere in the world that sell parts for old pocket watches had one. Well, I finally found a donor movement that's on its way to me that has a good jewel. So it should be here next week, and I'm going to go ahead and finish disassembling this movement now so that I can clean the parts before the new donor movement arrives. And then once that arrives, we can put it back together and complete the service on this one. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I need to remove the cap jewel from the balance cock, and it's held on by two tiny screws. So I'm going to take those screws out and lift the cap jewel out. And then I'm going to take out this screw here, which holds the balance cock, and I'm going to remove the balance. And then we will remove the pallet fork and the escape wheel. Okay, I've taken the jewel out. I had to remove the two little screws and then pop the jewel out. I had to pry it out with an X-Acto knife blade because it was stuck in there kind of tight, but that came out with a little metal housing around it. I've taken the balance cock screw out, and we're going to loosen the balance cock now with a screwdriver. There we go. You can lift it out now. Now, the next thing we need to do is take out the two screws that hold on the pallet fork bridge, and then we can take out the pallet fork and the escape wheel. I removed the pallet bridge screws, and now we can pop open the pallet bridge. There we go. Take that off, and then we can get the pallet fork, which doesn't want to lift out. So let's take the escape wheel first, and then we'll get the pallet fork. There we go. I've turned the movement over to the dial side because there's a couple things we have to remove there. There's a screw in here that I took out that holds this little cover plate on, and that cover plate covers up the intermediate wheel and the minute wheel. And lift those out. And then this stuff here is part of the keyless works, the clutch and the winding pinion. I think I can't get those out until I take off something on the other side. There's a spring on the other side that's holding them in place. The other thing we need to remove is this lower cap jewel for the balance, and it's held on by these two screws here that I've loosened. I've got the screws out. I think I'm going to have to push the jewel out from the other side because I couldn't get it to pry out of there. So I'm just going to turn this over and push on it gently with a screwdriver and see if we can get it to come out. Yeah, there we go. It started going. I may need a staking set to get this one out. Oh, there it goes. And that's a complete assembly that has the cap jewel and the chaton together. The one we took off the upper balance is the same way, and I'm going to have to separate those jewels before we clean them. The very last parts we need to remove now are these last bits of the keyless works. There's a screw here that holds this plate on over the spring and these two levers. And there's this other screw here which I believe holds this little metal plate in here in place. So let's go ahead and remove those. I've got them loosened already. Now I'm going to take this cover off. I think the spring may fly out of there if I'm not careful with it, so I'm going to lift that up with tweezers by itself. Oh, there it goes. There's what all that looks like there. I'm going to try to separate those pieces so I can clean them. And then let's see if we can lift out these last components here. There we go. It looks like they are held into this, so I'm going to need to get that plate out of there. Okay, I can push that out, I think, from the back here. There we go. And there's our components there. Now this has a rod connected to that plate that goes through the clutch and the winding pinion here. And I think the winding pinion should come off this as well, same way. And so that's the last components of the keyless works. And there's our bare base plate. Everything is disassembled now. It's ready to be cleaned. I'm not going to show the cleaning process on this because it's a long, tedious process, and the cleaning process is pretty much the same for every watch. I have a watch cleaning video showing the process if you want to see how the parts are cleaned, and I'll put a link in the description to that. The next video is going to be after I get that new jewel that I ordered. I ordered a parts movement I'm going to take the jewel off of. That should be here next week, and then we'll start reassembling the movement after that. And while I'm waiting for that part to arrive, I'll go ahead and clean the parts so that everything is ready to go. So in the next video, we'll start the reassembly process. Hopefully we'll be able to get this 101-year-old watch back into working order again.